Welcome back to the Todd Impact Show, the podcast dedicated to lighting you up with inspiration, motivating you to be better in all areas of your life, and igniting action inside of you so that you can ultimately create more impact in this world that so desperately needs you. On every Impact Show, we dive into mindset, health set, leadership, and something personal so that I can coach you to be the very best version of yourself. With that, it's time to dive into today's Impact Show episode. Are you ready to expand your vision, ignite your dreams to an entirely new level, and to get more momentum in your life? Are you ready? Because if so, today is your day. Hey, welcome back to the Todd Durkin Impact Show. I am Todd Durkin, and I'm super excited to share with you today yet another great episode of the Impact Show. Thank you for joining me. I'm pumped up today. If you can't hear it in my voice, it has been one heck of a week, and I'm going to share with you some of the great lessons today. So I hope you are excited. Thank you, all of you, for your great feedback from last week's episode with Cynthia Thurlow. Cynthia, longtime friend and someone who is delivering great content. If you did not listen to last week's show, go back and make sure you listen to that. Crazy story on that. They tried to take that thing away from me. It almost didn't air because, I think it was Zoom or whatever platform we were using. It was gone. Thankfully, we always have backups, and we ran the backup, and we got that great content out there. So Cynthia Thurlow, thank you for that episode. Truly awesome. But between then and this week, I actually went away. I was receiving an awesome event I went to on scaling your teams, and I was up in Pasadena, California. Not only do I do motivational speaking and do quite a bit of talking all over the place, I actually go to other events as well so I can learn and share and think and dream. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about today. So let's dive in because we have a lot of great content to get through today. We've got 4 quarters. How many quarters? 4. That's right. And I'm going to start with the most important one, health set. And this is going to be a simple one today, simply to remind you the importance today, health set. Amp up your water intake. As a matter of fact, right now, if you're walking, you're working out, you're driving, you're on a plane, you're on a train, get some swigs of H2O, my friends, because most of us are walking around dehydrated, half your body weight in fluid ounces of water. And if you're doing a good job with your water intake and your nutrition, how about amping up your recovery this week? I don't know if you need to get a massage or you want to get stretched, get some FST stretching, fascial stretch therapy, or what we call inside of Impact X Performance, our Impact Stretch Flow. But go to a recovery place and bake in the sauna or get into a cold plunge or get some red light therapy or get in some compression boots because the recovery aspect is going to fuel your energy. It's going to allow you to operate as your best self. And even when it comes down to your supplementation, which I've been on, y'all know I have my new supplement line, but whether you're taking the Impact Nutrition line or whatever supplements you take, is get in your ample protein, your creatine. There's been so much information being shared the last couple years on the importance of creatine for not just athletes, but for anyone looking to optimize performance. You got your multivitamins, you got your fish oils, you got your greens drinks, you got your branched chain amino acids. Just get your nutrition and supplementation and your hydration dialed in. When you can master the foundations, then you can worry about all the other stuff. So a simple health set today to amp up your energy and your performance and your focus on that. So, man, I'm fired up for today. Can you tell? Yeah, I thought so because I got my workout in. I'm super excited for today's episode because we got health set and I'm going right into mindset. And here's what I want to share in the mindset portion of today. You know, all you mind right maniacs out there, my theme for mindset today is who's on your pit crew? Who's on your pit crew? You got to create your pit crew. Now, I share this because as I record this, just after the Daytona 500 ran, congratulations, William Byron, the winner of the Daytona 500. The only sport, by the way, I was teaching my daughter, McKenna, that only in auto racing do you have the Super Bowl first. See, the Daytona 500 is recognized as the biggest race in NASCAR of the year. Not that I'm a huge NASCAR or auto racing guy, but I like watching it, and I appreciate what those entire crews and teams do. But I was watching the Daytona 500, and it made me think of something that one of the speakers said just the other day when I was at this event on scaling your teams. This speaker, her name was Diana Kander. She said, you got to make sure you have the right pit crew around you. I'm like, I like that. You got to make sure you have the right pit crew around you. Now, one thing I do know is this, and having a relationship somewhat with the Joe Gibbs racing team, meaning I played football, college football with J.D. Gibbs, bless his heart and soul. J.D. passed away, but J.D. ran Joe Gibbs's racing team for many years. You realize the importance of a pit crew to a team winning. And when William Byron won the race the other day, he got out of his car and he got onto the hood of his car and he jumped into about 10 of these guys who caught him, and they were celebrating with such exuberance and energy that it showed the camaraderie that's necessary for the team and the driver that is going to take success. And it made me think about who's on your pit crew. Who's on your team that celebrates your successes with you? And I know my son Luke, he went to Joe Gibbs's team. He went to the actual shop last year, and he saw some of the men on the pit crew working out, and they were going through all of their drills. And the precision that these men work with is absolutely incredible. So it made me think about, for you and for me, who's on your pit crew? You got to create your pit crew. You got to create your pit crew. Like, the difference between seconds or nanoseconds, microseconds, I'm not talking months or years, but when you think about the decisions you need to make right now in your life at any level, personally, professionally, who's on your pit crew? Are you dealing with a winning pit crew, or are you dealing with a losing pit crew? People who are not precise, people who are not operating on the highest level where seconds can make a difference, where you're working, you're like, oh, Todd, getting all altruistic on us. No, but the truth is, are you around winners? Are you around losers? How do you get around more winners? And, when you ask yourself, who can help me do this? Not how can I do this? Who can help me do this? It brings the thought of that book, Who Not How. Like, who is it that can help you get done what needs to get done? Because your successes often become the box. Like, hey, you got to think outside the box if you want to be successful. Think outside the box. Well, what about when your successes become the box and you can't think outside the box any longer? It made me think about there was a story that this gal, Diana, had shared in her talk where a hospital emergency room. Now, imagine the chaos and craze inside of a hospital ER. But it showed that they actually weren't operating, pardon the pun, with maximum efficiency. They actually brought in a IndyCar pit crew. Now, IndyCar is much different than NASCAR. I do know that, depending on your level of auto racing. But IndyCar is a completely different beast. But they brought an IndyCar pit crew in to evaluate them. They watched them, they observed them, and then the IndyCar pit crew applied the principles and knowledge that they use in IndyCar racing to the emergency room. Now imagine that. Like, what does an IndyCar or even a NASCAR pit crew have to do with operating inside of an emergency room? Well, think about it. Life and death is on the line, and I know when I saw this accident at the end of the Daytona 500, McKenna was like, my daughter was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this. And cars were flipping over, and within seconds they had the emergency crew there, and they go into the pit crew, and within like 2 minutes these cars were completely unbended, and they were back put together, and they were pulling scrap metal off and all this other stuff. It made me think about the importance of your pit crew. Like, who can help me get outside my box? Like, how do you get trapped inside of the box the way you think, right? And whether it's personally, whether professionally, when you have the right people on your pit crew, then all of a sudden you can start to think outside your box and people can help you execute that. So here's the top ahas that you can get from my little who's on your pit crew thing. Number one, you got to have the right pit crew. Do you have the right pit crew? And if you don't, who do you need to replace on your pit crew because they ain't pulling their weight, pardon the pun. Number two, you don't have to be an expert, but be an innovator. Be an innovator. Like maybe you've been in the field like myself for 25 years and you can be an expert in fitness and sports training and everything else, but how do you continually innovate? Heck, the podcast, we launched this thing over 5 years ago. How do I innovate? How do I reach more people like you mind rate maniacs, fire breathing dragons? How do you continue to innovate to get your message out there even longer? Because if your mission, your divine purpose is to motivate, inspire more people to greatness, get to their maximum level, how do you innovate more? Your pit crew is going to share with you and tell you what can be done. And number three is think of your 2.0 version or your 3.0 version. Maybe right now you're in a state of transition from one career to another career or one aspect of life to another. Heck, a couple of years ago, I shared in my transition of going to the 2.0 version of what I was doing there in my previous regime of Fitness Quest 10 and operating that to, I no longer wanted to operate Fitness Quest 10. I wanted to still be very much a part of it, but I wanted to create my vision, and my 2.0 version of me was in leading my organization, Impact X Performance, in scaling that vision. The pit crew that was going to be necessary was going to be different, because if you want to get to someplace you haven't been, you can't keep doing what you've always done to get to somewhere you want to go. Y'all catch that? So if you want to go somewhere new, you can't keep doing what you've always done to get to where you want to go. You got to find new people that can help you with your 2.0 version. Doesn't mean that you have to necessarily leave behind everything. Heck, I'm still at FQ10, but my pit crew is different. That's helping me scale Impact X Performance on that. Along with number four, find your blind spots. And Diana Cantor talked about this. And man, here's the thing. If for 6 months or a year or three, you've been doing the same thing and you're beating your head against the wall thinking, man, I just can't get to that next level, then you need to have someone else, a mentor, a coach, your pit crew, your inner circle, call what you want, help you discover and find your blind spots. Because if your blind spots don't allow you to get outside of the box, then you're always going to be stuck inside of the box. Don't revert back to mediocrity thinking, man, like I'm not built for this. This is where that head trash and that stinking thinking come into play. And you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Stop the silly thinking of like, I don't know if I can do this. You just got to recognize your blind spots, get around the right pit crew, get around the people who are going to call an ace and ace, a spade of spades. And then you can actually go identify your blind spots and do something about them. Why? Because point number 5 is, what lies am I telling myself is the question. You got to ask yourself, are you telling yourself any lies? Are you continually telling yourself the same story or sharing the same narrative that you've been saying over and over again? Why? Because I want to help you get outside of the box. I want to help you get unstuck with your blind spots. When I say, hey, create your pit crew, who's on your pit crew here in the mindset? It's a mindset because perhaps we need to change the narrative. Just today, no joke, I was in the trenches training an athlete. And I said, stop telling yourself that. Stop telling yourself that. Because this athlete, football player, was telling me that as he was bench pressing, I don't know, man, I think I'm too old for this. I said, stop. What do you mean you're too old for this? Stop. I'm 53 years old. I'm like, you ain't too old for this. You're going to be in your 50s and 60s someday. We're going to be doing the same darn thing. Like, you ain't too old for this. But if you keep telling yourself the same narrative, guess what? You start believing it and you start performing like it. Then you will be too old because you get cut. So that's the narrative. Like, be careful of the stories you keep telling yourself, because the stories become your narrative. Your narrative, you start believing it, because the 60 to 80,000 thoughts that you have a day, if you start telling yourself you're too old, you don't feel good, you're not smart enough, I don't know if I'm built for this, I don't know if I can go through all this again. Stop the silly talk, the stinking thinking. No. So be careful of that. What lies are you telling yourself? It doesn't mean you're not getting older, but you got to make sure that you do everything you can, that you're telling yourself the right story about what you're doing, why you're doing it. And then last point is don't be stuck in just traditional wisdom. Don't be stuck in traditional wisdom. I'm a huge believer in looking back, and you can reflect upon all your wins and all the good things. I was actually doing that this morning as I'm recording this. It's my 24th wedding anniversary. That's kind of crazy. I've been married 24 years. And I was looking back on pictures. I'm like, man, we've had some really good times in 24 years. But man, we don't want to get stuck in just the past. Like, I also want to look forward to the next 24 years and what destinations and vacations and things are we going to do in the next 3 years, let alone 24 years. Don't get stuck in traditional wisdom of just going back and saying, oh, the way it used to be is the way it should be. If you're stuck in the 90s or the 80s or the early 2000s, you ain't going to win today. And I want to make sure that we win today on that. And that's why I say, like, a great mantra is, today is day one. Today is day one. And I was literally on a phone call just prior to me recording this after my training session with our team at Impact X Performance. I said that exact same thing, is today is day one. Now, you got to have every day, you got to come to bat with a new attitude of, like, today's day one. It's a new day. What are we going to do to maximize the day? There's no doubt change is inevitable. No doubt. But growth is optional. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. But growth is optional. And when I talk about creating your pit crew, who's on your pit crew? You want people on your crew that are going to help you grow, not just change. It's one thing to change, but how do we change and get better with optimal growth? You know, there's this video that I saw in this talk, which was really cool. It was the person on the vault in gymnastics who in the 1950s won the gold medal. And when this woman won the gold medal, the actual routine looked so ridiculously easy. And she compared it to the gold medal from the 1950s to Simone Biles' gold medal winning performance in the last Olympics. And it was light years ahead of, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that an athlete could do something so amazing here in what was 2024 in the Olympics. Like, wow, that is incredible what this woman did. And you're like, man, but that's only, like, when you think about 70 years or so that had gone by, like, where are things going? And what we know today isn't where we're going to be in 5-10 years from now, let alone 50 or 70 years from now. Growth is optional. Change is inevitable. And I challenge you with the mindset, who's on your pit crew? Make the decisions this week as you listen to the Impact Show today. I just want to make sure that your pit crew, your 5 or 10 people that every day you're going to train with, that you're going in to be precise with, that you're making decisions with your business with and your life with. Your life is dependent on it. Like, that you have the right people on your crew. So, my friends, the mindset tip of the day, make sure that you create your right pit crew. And whatever you do, you make sure you got the right crew that you're hanging with all the time. Let's take a short break, and I'll be right back after today's message. Speaking of great nutrition and supplements, I can encourage you to take your game to the next level enough with my new TD Impact Nutrition Supplements. These supplements have been tested and tried over years, and I'm proud to say that when combined with good nutrition and good fitness, they will make you healthier. Here's the deal. Start the day with your greens drink. Yummy, yummy to my tummy. Then you could have the multivitamins BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, and the creatine. Take the Rehydrate, full of electrolytes, at any time throughout the day, as well as the chocolate, vanilla, or my favorite, cinnamon bun protein. I'm telling you, try this cinnamon bun protein. It'll rock your world. Heck, there's even a pre-workout to ignite your workout called Energy. Imagine that. In the evening, end the day with the deep sleep nighttime gummies. Yes, they will absolutely make you get a deep night, great sleep. Check it all out at tdimpactnutrition.com. tdimpactnutrition.com. As a matter of fact, if you put in the word podcast, the code is podcast, you're going to receive an additional 15% off. Put in code podcast, receive 15% off. Hop over to www.tdimpactnutrition.com and get your supplements today. We are back. And yes, we're talking stock car racing, auto racing. No, I'm only joking, but I do think that is an awesome metaphor for life. And speaking of life, I want to talk leadership. A leader of one, a leader of many. If you can't lead one, you can't lead any. Today, I want to talk about getting more momentum in your business and your life. I want to say thank you to all you who are listening in and the feedback that we've gotten since January 25 when I made this mix up in how I'm presenting the Impact Show with 4 quarters. We got health set, we got mindset, we got leadership, and we got personal. And in leadership today, I want to talk about momentum and how do you get momentum back in your life. See, in sport, it's very important. You ever hear of Uncle Mo? Uncle Mo, y'all know who Uncle Mo is for you non-sports fans. Uncle Mo is Uncle Momentum. How do you get more momentum back in your life? And there's a few ways, 5, I'll count 5 ways. If you don't have momentum right now, I want to help you right now on today's podcast get some momentum, because we love when the energy is flowing in our favor versus you feel like you're always climbing an uphill battle. And one of those ways, of course, is having the right pit crew. But if you don't have momentum and you're in the middle of a losing season, I want to remind you, number one, keep swinging. You got to keep taking shots. You got to keep going. You got to keep making sure that you're moving forward on that, not playing scared, but you're playing with tenacity. Sometimes you think about, hey, how do I keep my head down and keep working if things aren't going? Number one is keep swinging, keep going. 2 is get around people who have momentum going on in their life. You know, there's always people that who have momentum. You're like, man, how does she have so much momentum all the time? Because momentum builds momentum. Momentum builds momentum. And momentum, right? How do you get momentum in your life? Momentum helps you build more happiness, more money, more everything in your life. Thank you, Miles McPherson, for that. But momentum's contagious. Momentum's contagious. It catches on fire with each other. Example was, I was talking to a guy last week who's doing very well with investments, like very well with his investments. And the way he spoke and the charisma, his smarts in the field, this happened to be in real estate, it was contagious. Like, I want to be around this guy. Just the way he speaks, it rubs off on like, man, I want some of what he's got on that. It's likewise, I spoke with someone in the franchising world who's absolutely killing it in franchising. It's contagious because you almost start using the same vernacular as the person who has that momentum. Like, man, I love listening to him. I love listening to her. So you got to get around people who have momentum in their business, their finances, their investments, their health, their fitness journey, their faith journey. Like, all of it's important because you start thinking like them. You start acting like them. You start using some of the same vernacular with them. So just get around people who have momentum going on in life and in business and watch how it helps you catapult into that. Heck, you go to a live event, that's a whole different level. Number 3, lead your team to get momentum. Lead your team to get momentum. Whether you're a solopreneur, you've got a small group around you, you got a large group around you, is you make sure that you don't squash people's dreams. Everyone needs a dream. Don't keep saying no all the time. You want to be teaching your team about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and elevating everyone on the team. I think it's important that you provide feedback and you ask for people's feedback and not opinions. You don't need more opinions. Can I get an amen, anyone? You don't want any opinions. Everyone's got an opinion on everything. No, how about feedback is different? Feedback is the breakfast of champions. And have people show up with solutions now, and then you're going to get some momentum because people have solution. You empower people to step up with their solutions on that. And most importantly, when it comes to leading your team to getting momentum, is get people involved in the mission and the vision. But that's going to help. That's going to require you to actually share your mission, share your vision of where we're going on that. As a matter of fact, I've been speaking a lot recently, and when I share with people about leadership, I've got 13 points when it comes to, I'm going to share my 13 points and I'll rapid fire. You can always come back, look at the timestamp right now on the podcast and come back and write these down if you want. But I do believe that these are leadership points that anyone, regardless of the industry that you are in, can certainly benefit from. The 13 leadership, TD's top 13 leadership points. Again, I use this in some of my presentations if I'm going deep on leadership. Number one, leaders are passionately committed to the mission. Passionately committed to the mission. Not just committed, you're passionately committed to the mission and the vision. You're committed to the mission and the vision, number one. Two, leaders communicate effectively. Remember, you communicate not just with your mouth, but with your body language as well, because 80% of communication is body language. Number three, leaders make gut decisions. Listen to your gut, not just the pro forma, not just the P&L. Listen to your gut very intently. Number four, leaders cultivate greatness and foster a positive culture. They cultivate greatness and foster a positive culture. So how do you, leader, cultivate greatness on an everyday basis with the habits that you have and foster a positive culture by the way you show up with your energy, with your smile, with your high fives, what you're doing to foster that positive culture? Number five, leaders set high expectations. And then they set high expectations. They walk their talk and raise people up and motivate and inspire people to be their best. They raise people up to be their best. So how are you raising people up to be their best today? What words are you using? What exercises are you using to empower people? One of the things I love doing in my half-day leadership sessions with companies is I go in there and not only give them a fire and brimstone talk, but then we go deep on exercises to challenge all the leaders and their teams to go deep within themselves to inspire people to be their best personally so they can thrive professionally. Number six, leaders provide feedback in a caring and compassionate way. So when I said earlier on about feedback is the breakfast of champions, leaders want to use the sandwich technique, right? You want to, start with an attaboy, attagirl, I love what you're doing, and then you're going to provide feedback, the burger, the meat in there, as you provide the good, valuable feedback that's going to get someone better, and then give someone an attaboy and attagirl at the end, because that's a great way to provide that feedback. Number seven, leaders listen. Leaders listen. I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, not only in my talks, but in my own leadership, is leadership listen. But today what I find is not everyone always says what that's on their heart or on their minds. So you have to listen, not just with your ears. You have to listen with your eyes. You got to listen with your eyes to see how they react. How is their energy? Are they showing excitement and exuberance to be in the office? Yes, be in the office. Are you showing up in the office? That actually is a sign that you want to be around or not. I mean, it baffles me that people that live in the same town don't show up at the office on a consistent basis. I'm not saying that you should never show up at the office. Like, it's wrong to stay home once or twice a week, but like, come on, people, let's show up. Let's exchange energy. So I digress. I'm a little fired up. But show emotion. Number eight is leaders show emotion. Sorry about that. There you go. Leaders listen. Number eight, leaders show emotion. I actually just showed emotion right there. Number nine, leaders aren't afraid to change if it's going to help the organization or mission. Pit crew. Are you willing to change, or are you afraid to change? If you're afraid to change, you're going to die. Another point I'm going over, I got an upcoming keynote I'm giving, and one of the points is change, evolve, or die. Change or die. You choose. But if you don't change, if you don't evolve, you will die. And there's countless examples of companies that have died because they weren't willing to change. Leaders, don't be afraid to change. Number 10, leaders can show the way in the darkest of hours. I don't know. Do you ever think about this yourself? I don't know why. This isn't necessarily a good trait, but sometimes I feel like I do my best work in the darkest of hours. I'm just being real with y'all. I mean, this is what the Impact Show is all about. I've said since episode 1, I'm always going to share with you. But sometimes, like, in the darkest of hours, when people are kind of looking around, like, what do we do? What's going to happen? I sometimes feel like that's what I'm most called. That's not a good thing, because I don't want to wait for the dark hours. I don't want to wait for the darkest of hours to do my best work. But Leaders lead people through change or through tough times is number 11. So leaders, number 10, can show the way in the darkest of hours. And number 11, leaders lead people through change or tough times. Doesn't mean it has to be the dark hours, but when you're changing, keep leading, keep empowering, keep inspiring. Number 12, leaders develop other leaders and provide growth opportunities. That's one of the reasons why I went to this recent event, which I'll talk more about on an upcoming episode, but it was all on scaling your team. Ultimately, I'm not saying you got to fire yourself, but how do you fire yourself in many of the roles that you're probably currently doing? Because I love to do this. I love podcasting. I love speaking. I love coaching. I love coaching. I love speaking. I love podcasting. How do I podcast even more? How do I speak in front of live audiences even more? And how do I coach even more? That's what I love to do. That's what I'm designed to do. I am a coach who speaks. I'm a coach who podcasts. Do more of what you love to do. So that requires me to develop other leaders within my organization who can then help grow the different aspects of that. So I love coaching both in the trenches. I love coaching right now our other franchisees at Impact X Performance, my business partners who are growing their franchises to impact 300-400 people in their communities. And then last on number 13, leaders care. Leaders care. And I just ask you, like, I'm not going to say, do you care? Because of course you care. You're listening to the podcast and, some of you listen to almost every darn episode. Heck, some of you have listened to every episode, but maybe you're a new listener. Leaders care. My big question here is, how do you get people to care on your team that you don't even know if they do care? Are there people on your team who you're not sure? If you have to ask yourself that question for a few months, then you need to go back to those previous 12 points I just shared out of the 13. Leaders cares, number 13, and think, man, do I need to make a change? Or do I need to be a better leader and give more feedback? So, man, 13 leadership points, all part of lead your team to get momentum. And I know that's a lot on leadership, but I love leadership. I love not only studying leadership, I love leading leaders and being a leader on that. So I've got 5 points on that. Point number 3 there was lead your team to get momentum, and I had 13 points under number 3. That's a lot of leadership in one. So point number 4 of my 5, that was number 3. Make a big move or make a big play. What's your big move going to be? What's the big move? You probably know it in your heart of hearts and you're playing scared. Like, I need to make this move, but I'm scared. It's gonna be too big of a move. It's gonna take too much money. I don't have the money now, or I can't get rid of that person. They've been with me for 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or whatever. Like, what's the big play? What's the big move that you need to make, but you're scared to make it? Like a few weeks ago, there was the Super Bowl, and when you think about the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Philadelphia Eagles, you watch any sport, but you think about it was a game of momentum. It could be a blocked punt or kick that changes the momentum as a big play. It could be a pick six, right? It happened in the game. 14-point swing, right? Mahomes threw a pick six, 14-point swing before you know it. It could be a recovered fumble. I mean, there's countless examples, but in business, it could mean a hire of someone. Like, that's a big move. You hire the right person. That's a big move that could change the trajectory of your business. Or getting rid of someone. You fire someone. You got to get rid of someone. Why is it? Maybe it's just me. Why is it when you get rid of someone, you find out so much more after the fact that you wish you would have known months or years in advance? Like, why didn't anyone tell me that? Like, why didn't anyone say that? Well, because if you're the leader, then they don't want to tell you, because then they're at risk of getting canned themselves. But like, man, I wish I would have known then, right? And you would have saved yourself some headache. But when you talk about momentum, you got to think about, maybe it means a reorganization of your organization. Maybe you need a reorg and you people in different roles. It could mean eliminating a division of your business or adding a division of your business. I mean, for me, even in evaluating going into 2025, here we look at 4 verticals, right? We looked at 4 verticals at Todd Erkin Enterprises. There's coaching, there's speaking, there's Impact X Performance, And then we have products. We have books and apparel and nutrition supplements on that. And we have worked hard to get in each of those 4 verticals, coaching, speaking, impact, X performance, and products, getting the right head of each vertical there to help run that. Right? In coaching, we've got our mastermind group and we've got Impact X coaching and everything we're doing. But could you add value to one of your verticals by either the addition or subtraction of somebody? And if so, what is it? I mean, think about that. How can you add even more value to one of the verticals? Because at the end of the day, people want value. You want value on a podcast. You want value in one of my coaching programs. If you're involved in the mastermind or impact coaching, or you're getting private one-on-one coaching, you go to, if I come to a talk to you, like, man, like, what is that? Right? So what's the game-changing move when you think about what's the game-changing move that you're going to need to make? Maybe you want to acquire a company or you want to partner with a company. It could mean making an investment that is going to provide your company or yourself personally with that. Only you can make that move. But what's the big play or the big move that you're going to make here in Q1 2025? Make it. Make the decision. Lean on the pit crew. That's why I said in the mindset, get your mind right. Get your pit crew on that same page, because, man, when you use those 5 ways to get more Uncle Mo in your life, that's momentum. With the right pit crew, with the right momentum, I promise you, now you got some great things happening within your business. And the last thing I want to share today on the episode is this, and this is more of the personal section. As a matter of fact, let's go to a station break with a quick little announcement from one of my sponsors, and we'll be right back after this. Today's Impact Show podcast is brought to you by the Todd Durkin Mastermind Program. My friends, I could always say, you can only go as far as you grow. Regardless of what you do for a living, whether you're a fitness professional, you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're an entrepreneur, you're an accountant, lawyer, police officer, or whatever you do to make a difference in this world. If you're looking to create even more success and more significance, and you want more juice, more energy, more clarity, more focus on how you can create that impact, the Mastermind Program is for you. I would love the opportunity to coach you, hold you accountable, and help you make the necessary moves to get to your next level in your life. Check out ToddDurkin.com today, ToddDurkin.com, and hop on a call with one of my coaches to find out if this is the right move for you. Go to ToddDurkin.com and sign up today. All right, we are back, and I'm excited in our 4th quarter. 4! That's right. I got a great quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower. And the quote says this: "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." Let me repeat that. And I want you to think about what's important and what's urgent. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Great quote by Dwight Eisenhower. And when you think about that, I want to ask you the question is, what do you want out of life? When you step back enough to think, like I did here last week, and I got away for 3 days and I was writing, I was dreaming, I was thinking, you can never get enough of this time. And so I'm always like, guys, please, in November, I'm talking November, we got a big event in Montana. Just show up, be in the room for that. But what happens in life when you're doing too much zigzagging and everything, it takes too much time to get to where you want to go. Sometimes you got to take the toll road, right? The toll road is always a little more expensive, but it expedites time. And it's the only thing we have, is because that's going to help drive growth. And your business wants to be a tool to help you improve the quality of the lives in which you touch in your business. But ultimately, you don't want your business to own you, because that's not good. That's how you burn out. That's how you get exhausted. And we don't want you in that position. And one of the questions that I always ask, and I've been sharing with my coaching groups, is what got you here is not what gets you there. What got you here is not what gets you there. So what is it that got you here? And what is it going to be that's going to help get you there? Now, the question is, what's there? Where is there? Where is it that you are going? Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes you hit rock bottom. That happened to me in 2020, 21. I share it in True Strength. Hopefully you read my book, True Strength, by this point. But Hitting that low physically, getting completely burnt out, shot, and exhausted a little over 20 years into my career, with my back injury, my second knee replacement, and everything that happened, it brought me toward the bottom of like really doing some really deep self-reflection about what I want out of my life and how am I going to maximally impact my legacy. And that turned into Impact X Performance. And that's so much of what I do now is helping my business partners inside of Impact X Performance on that. But you ask yourself, are you willing to ask for help? Pit crew, where you at? Right? If you're too close to the business and you can't see all things going on around you, well, then how the heck are you supposed to get there, wherever there is? Because like I shared in previous episodes way back then, is there's almost like this tickle inside of your fancy saying, man, there's something inside of you that no one else knows. Only God knows. Like there's something else there. You got to scratch it. There's a deeper level that's inside of you that isn't being scratched. If that's you on any level, keep scratching it. Keep talking to your pit crew, your coach, your therapist, your counselor, whoever it is that you talk to, if that is you. Maybe exactly what you're doing now is you're in the right spot. Fantastic. Then keep going, but keep evolving and keep reinventing yourself to get to that deepest level within your career, within your life. So I'm going to leave you today with a question. And in this question, I'm going to encourage you to do a little writing exercise. And when you think about this writing exercise, it's something that I did here recently. And it actually is a really great contemplative exercise. And it's a letter to yourself. And I want you to write this letter as if it's 3 years from now. So whatever the date you're listening to today's episode is, I want you to think about 3 years from now, where are you at? And when you write this letter, you're going to write this letter now as if it's 3 years from now. And you're going to start with something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that. What has happened in the last 3 years? Why do I share this? Is because when you can put your mind in a place where you want to go and where you want to be to get there, what got you here is not what's going to get you there. I want to know what's going to get you there. And part of what gets you there is, many of you have done your annual strategic plan 1 year out. I share some of these same questions, but these are not just questions for you to do. These are questions for you to remember why the heck you're doing what you're doing so you can get to there, right? So, some of the things I wrote down is, I'm so happy and grateful now that, right? I have time and energy freedom. And I even put down, I was jacked up a few years ago, and I was thinking about the situation I was in 24/7 back early 2020, 2021, and being stuck and not being able to do some of the things I wanted to do. I put down here, I'm getting great time with Melanie and travel time and quality time. And I'm getting time off to spend more time in Montana than I could have ever imagined. And our Impact X Performance continues to grow at 2 to 3 IXPs per month. And I'm partnering with other passionate fit pros and entrepreneurs who want to bring light to their communities. Like, write these things down and spend 15 to 20 minutes this week. I'm so happy and grateful now that 3 years from now, what are you doing? And write it as if it's already happened. And when you write it down, final one is, just ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 things or obstacles that could get in your way that might prevent you from actually doing it? Write that down. Why? Because it's one thing to spend 20, 30 minutes or so writing these dreams down that you're going to foster, that gets cemented in your dome. Because like I said, what you say and what you think really does matter. And I want you to make sure that you're constantly telling yourself the right stuff and feeding yourself for where you want to go. Because we only have one crack at this thing called life. You got one shot. And I don't want on my watch that we're wasting time doing things that we're just on our to-do list. Is 2 to 3 things, obstacles. And I share with you, just like I share with my coaching group, I'm always going to be real with you. And while I can't get as deep with you that I would in my different groups coming up here, is an obstacle that could get in the way is I just keep doing what I'm always doing. Just because if you keep doing what you're always doing for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe some of the stuff is good. Good, keep doing that. But maybe some of those things aren't going to get you to where you're supposed to do. I put obstacles that could get in the way. Not prioritizing my wife. If I don't prioritize my wife, then as I record this on my 24th wedding anniversary, I want a 25th wedding anniversary. I want a 26th. I want a 27th. Heck, I want a 50th. So by recognizing that, you got to make sure that you keep doing what you're doing that is going to be getting you to where you want to go on that. So, and then the last part of that is how long have these obstacles been your story? Maybe you've got a couple of things that are in your way. Listen, everyone's got something. Everyone's got something. Let me repeat. Everyone's got something. What I want to help you do on the podcast is to break through the head trash, the stinking thinking. That's why 400 and something episodes, not 1 week has ever gone by where I skipped an episode. Why? Because we got to get our mind right. When I talk about get your mind right, get your mind right, get your mind right, what obstacles do we need to remove, eliminate, get rid of so we can get to where you're supposed to go? You need 5 things in your life, 5 things. You need a vision. And I'm helping you paint the vision of where you're going. It doesn't matter if it's the first of the year, if it's March, if it's February, if it's all, we want a vision. 2, you need a plan. So what's the plan that's going to help us get to where we want to go? Next year, 3 years from now, 25 years from now. You need a vision, you need a plan, you need guidance. You need guidance. You need a pit crew. Get your pit crew. Heck, guidance could become part of my coaching program. If you're a fit pro, mastermind. If you're not a fit pro and you're a life pro, you're someone who wants just more success in life, more significance in life, and you need more accountability in life, then you need some guidance, then get in my coaching program. Between myself and our coaches, I promise you we can help you get you next level, because the 4th one is accountability. Accountability will help you get you to where you want to go. I'm no different. I still have coaches in my life. Need the accountability to say, hey, to get to the next level, you got to play with people who've either been there, done that, or are still doing it. Hopefully it's all 3 of them, been there, done that, and are doing it on that. But accountability is the 4th. And the last one, number 5, you need these 5 things if you want to do what you say you're going to do. You need vision, you need a plan, you need guidance, you need accountability, and you need a community. You need a community around you. And hopefully you have a great community around you right now. And if not, let me tell you what, we got some exciting things coming up inside our TDE community that is about to hit here in March. So stay tuned on more opportunities that you can play with at a deeper level inside a community. If you're part of one of our coaching groups, obviously you're part of our community. Again, I can't emphasize enough experiencing that at one of our live events on that. But I wanted to share that because I thought about those 5 things you need if you want to get to the next level in your life. Remember the quote from Eisenhower, what is important is seldom urgent, and what's urgent is seldom important. It makes me think about personally what's urgent in your life and what's most important in your life. Prioritize your family. And then in addition to your family, make sure you put down all the other things that are going to be important in your life, right? You got your priorities, get them straight. You got God, you got my wife, I got my family, I got my business, and then everything else. Everything else after that. God, wife, family, like you put your priorities down, but you make sure that you have people who can hold you accountable to those things. And I promise you, when you do that, then life is going to be great. My friends, thank you so much for joining me today on the Impact Show. If you find great value and you found that 1 aspect, 2 aspects, 5 aspects out of today served you in some way, can you do me a favor? Please share it. Please share this episode. You can simply text this over to someone, or even better yet, go on your social media, hit a story, tag me on the story, and let your community know that they can continue to grow as well. We're looking to make the Todd Impact Show a leader within this space of personal development and leadership. And I'm so honored to every single week to be in your ear and allowing you to think about things that are most important in your life. So if you can please pay that forward, and I can't thank you enough for that. If I can serve you in any way, simply make sure that you hit me up. You can DM me anytime. Make sure you're part of our text community, 619-304-2216. That's 619-304-2216 is our text community. We got some great things always happening inside of there. Win the day, baby. Every single day, you got to win the day. I love you guys. God bless you. And I can't wait to see you next week. Until then, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact.